Hi there, everybody. My name is Andy Rodriguez, and I am here with my very good pal Will Toth from Will's Rush page. And today, what we're going to do is that we're going to rank Neil Young albums from the 1970s only. All 11 albums, his 11 studio albums from 69 to 79. And also also Will and I will talk about this later on, but we're going to do his 90s to 2000s at the beginning of March. We couldn't do everything all at once because it would take us a long time. So I'm going to cut this into two different episodes. And I know the 90s has 6 albums, but if we stretch it out to the 2000s, I think we can get about 11 in there.
Mhm.
So, and we'll talk about that later on. So we are going to be ranking our Neil Young albums. I don't know what Will has in his or how his is going to be shuffled around. He doesn't know how mine is either. Even though a few months ago we did go through each Neil Young album and went through track by track and pulled out deep tracks, so that was pretty fun.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, I can't make copies of that, but it was fun to do and go through.
yeah,
It was really good to see someone else have the same likings. So, what was your process in this, Will? I'm to getting these Neil Young albums ready.
yeah. It was interesting. So I took the listing of records and I went and pulled my vinyl and CDs so that I could have a closer look at them and kind of remember some of them and pull some memories from that. And then I started to place them, and as I mentioned before we started, I was able to choose my top six very quickly, and then I started to run into some problems because two of them I don't own. I'll get into that after, but I'm aware of them, and I know the history behind those two. So it was an interesting process to kind of pull everything out and go through it, and then put it in order. So it came quite naturally for the first few records, and then I ran into problems because I was having trouble deciding, well, which ones are my favorites. So I started to think about which ones impacted me the most and
Yeah.
how far back, based on the timeline we're doing. So it was a good process.
Okay. Yeah. The way that I did is I just went by track, and I counted how many tracks I
Yeah,
enjoyed, and how many were my favorites, and how many were just good compared to
yeah,
ultimate favorites. And
yeah,
like you said, every time you listen to Neil Young, there's some kind of personal feeling to it, or you can really see what or picture what was going on at the
yeah,
moment you either bought these albums or the people you listened to these with,
yeah.
and people you
Right,
might have a relationship with these albums with. Because Neil
right.
Young is a very powerful singer and songwriter, and he's been very important in my life, and it sounds like he has been in yours as well.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. It's a good point, and for me, it was about the memories associated to the record. Like a lot of music, you can hear a song or see an album cover and immediately go back in time to where you were the first few
Mhm.
times you listened to that, or whether it was over a period of time, like a year or whatever. And that's kind of the way I did it, was which one impacted me the most.
All right. So, are you ready to go?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right. I will let you go first. You
Okay,
are the
sure.
guest.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, my number 11, I chose American Bars and Stars, and I'll tell you why. Because I don't. Number one, I don't own it. I have it on digital, but I don't own a physical copy. So I did a little research into it, and I know that there's some key tracks of Neil Young that were released on this record. One of them being "Like a Hurricane." Very, very big song for him, of course, and it's interesting too. The timeline of this record is between "Long May You Run," which he did with Stephen Stills, and then "Decade," his compilation record that came out in '77, the same year as American Stars and Bars. So that was kind of my thinking behind it. When I've listened to it, there's some good tracks on it, but it just probably because I didn't never owned it, didn't have a huge impact on me. That's why it's at the bottom.
Good one. I'm gonna go the same route. American Stars and Bars.
Interesting.
Yeah, as my number 12. Here's also an alternate cover as well. Sometimes I use both covers. There's the one, that one, and then this one where he's smashed. And the inside of it, it's got the it's pretty interesting because, like you were saying, the dates. Well, this has the dates when the songs were made. So there's a couple of songs that were done before. So it's kind of a hodgepodge kind of put together. But you got Linda Ronstadt and Nicolette Larson singing backing vocals on this one, and then you've got Crazy Horse on a couple of tracks. So it's a kind of discombobulated listen. But like you said, the standout track is Like a Hurricane, which doesn't even fit in this album. It's weird because it's on the same side as Star of Bethlehem, which is a great track.
Yeah.
But I put this one at number 11. But a couple of songs were kind of a country thing to them, especially on side one. But they're good songs.
Yeah.
They're really nice little country songs like the Old Country Waltz, Saddle Up Palomino, Hey Babe, and Hold On to the Tears. It's just a good album, but compared to the others, this did start off at number 11 for me as well. But, I never hesitate to put this one on.
Yeah.
It's, even though it's at the bottom, it's not that I never listened to it.
Yeah.
It's just, it's one of the first Neil Youngs that I owned.
Yeah. So
and I really played the heck out of it after I bought it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's still, even it might be at the bottom of your list, but it's a big list, right? This is a portion of all his catalog. It has sentimental value to you and reasons to play it. So, and that's what I found when I was selecting my stuff. It was like, what means a lot to me at different periods of time. And now you made a good point about that one being more of a compilation type piece.
Kind of, yeah.
It almost feels like he was under pressure to get something out at that point. And I'm thinking if he was working on a record with Stills and then Decade was in the works, I don't know. I know he was under a lot of pressure with his first label to produce more Neil Young sounding records. So how far back, I'm not sure, but I know that was happening after Harvest as an example.
Yeah, and also, this has Homegrown on it. So also it dates back to thinking, when he scratched the ever famous Chrome Dreams album.
Yep.
He would scratch that, and he was so famous for making so many different albums and then scratching them. And thankfully, with the archives coming out, we're able to hear pieces of that. And it sounds like American Stars and Bars might have pulled a couple of songs from there, like Homegrown and stuff like that. So,
quite possible,
so it's an interesting album. What do you got for number 10, Will?
So for number 10, I've got On the Beach, which might surprise some people because I know it's a great record, and I don't own a copy. These are the only two that I don't have in some format. Now, I have a digital copy, so I'm very aware of the songs. And there's a good story behind the album cover. For those of you that don't know, this is the picture of Neil on the beach in a yellow blazer. I'm just looking at it now. And there's the end of back end of a car buried in the sand. So the story goes, correct me if I'm wrong, Andy, but they actually they set that shot up, and they went to a junkyard and got the tail end of a Lincoln, I believe, I think a 52 Lincoln, if I'm not mistaken, and buried it in the sand for that particular shot, which is kind of neat. So the album cover is kind of iconic. In that sense, and I may not have all the details right, but there's a good story behind that. Now the track listing, there's some excellent tunes on this record. Walk On, See the Sky About to Rain, Revolution Blues, For the Turnstiles, Vampire Blues, On the Beach, Motion Pictures, Ambulance Blues. There's not a bad song on this record.
Yeah.
And I think if I, again, had a physical copy, it'd probably be higher on my list. It's just that, it's one of those things, if you don't own it, it's not, obviously not getting in rotation, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there is really, like I said, not a bad track. You could listen to this record quite comfortably over and over again.
Oh yeah.
So many key songs, and at that period of time, his songwriting also was absolutely brilliant. Each piece tells a story like only Neil can with his music, and some of these songs are probably got quite a bit of I'm thinking radio play as well, because they're shorter songs. A few of them are, and at that time, radio right up into the 90s, they loved their 3-minute songs. So he would tell a very neat story within that time slot. So that's kind of where it fell on my list. Number 10.
My number 10 is going to be another one that was kind of podgy, and it was also a live album. It was like a live album of new material. That's Time Fades Away for me at number 10. And it was tough to put this one at number 10 because it's got a couple of my favorite ballads by him. Journey into the Past, which I just love.
Yep.
And Love and Mind is another great ballad. And the title track, Time Fades Away. LA, which was a really good track, which talks about, Los Angeles and the way things were back in the day when he was, with Buffalo Springfield. And a cool song on here was Don't Be Denied, which was kind of like an autobiography of him growing up and, talking about his dad leaving and his mom growing up with his mom and, being a kid and getting his ass whooped a lot and him, just not being denied no matter what. So that song always stuck to me. This was kind of a album that took me a while to really find this one on vinyl. And it says here, guess where David Crosby and Graham Nash are singing backing vocals on this. So that's cool. And each track was recorded live, and it tells you on the other side here was the stadiums where there were recorded. Most of these were, well, I'm not going to go through them all, but Oklahoma City, Cleveland, Seattle, another Oklahoma City, at UCLA, Phoenix, Sacramento, and San Diego. So this is a live album, and Neil Young is very famous for playing. You go to a concert, and he'll play a whole live album, a whole new album for you. It's already happened to me twice. I went to go see him. One was for what was that one with Daniel Lanois?
Lanois.
Yeah.
Yes.
For Lanois and also for Greendale.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I like the choice. The thing about that album, you're right. It's number one. It's hard to find. It is still very difficult to find.
Which one?
Sorry,
Time Fades Away.
Time Fades Away.
Okay.
Yeah, Time Fades Away. That is a difficult record to find. I haven't been able to find it. I have a digital copy. That is part of, I believe, the Ditch trilogy, if I'm not mistaken, or taking place around that timeline. So Tonight's the Night.
It was before. It was a release before Tonight's the Time. Tonight's the Night. It kind of kicks off the Ditch trilogy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I remember reading about it. I guess there was a lot of issues with that tour. He had to fire the drummer, I believe, because there was a lot of partying going on, a lot of drinking and drugs, and somebody had the article I read. They called it a bit of a train wreck of touring, and that's why they connected it to the Ditch trilogy. In that sense, it was just a bad time keeping the band together, and there was a lot of substance abuse going on, and so people weren't playing at their best.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but there's some classic tunes on that record, which is interesting, as you mentioned. Also, some famous photos of Neil playing a V-neck on that tour as well, which was unusual because usually it had his old black or acoustics. So there's a real history behind that, and that's why I think why that album is still quite popular these days.
Yeah, and I know that it was out of print on a CD.
Yeah.
It was out of print for a while, and also a couple of songs, especially like the ones that I had mentioned, "Love in Mine" and "Journey Through the Past." Those can also be found on Neil Young Archives 1.
Yeah.
And so they were already in process during 71, 72, during the harvest time.
Okay. Yeah.
They were already in rotation. They just weren't released at the time.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Number 9.
Okay, number 9. Okay, I chose Zuma, and I have this on CD. Now, this is a great record. I've got it right here. Very unique album cover, first of all, and there's some excellent Crazy Horse material on this record, and like excellent songs. "Don't Cry No Tears," "Danger Bird," "Pardon My Heart," "Looking for Love," "Barstool Blues" is on here. "Supergirl," "Drive Back," "Cortes the Killer," of course, and "Through My Cells." I think most of these have been done live over the years, and this was the introduction, obviously the studio release. This feels like a live record, though. The Crazy Horse tracks on here, I wouldn't be surprised if it was recorded live to tape from the floor because it's very well done. It's got that electric Crazy Horse sound. It's an excellent record. It's one of my favorites. Songwriting, very strong. And again, excellent electric Neil Young. Really enjoy this one. It just kind of ended up in the lower part of my list because I've got others that are above it. But the live tracks that I've heard on some of the live releases of these songs are my favorites. So I always come back to the record for that reason. Hear the studios,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely, you're right about that. When it comes to this album, especially on that Neil Young Archives 2, they've got an alternate record to Zuma, but I forgot what it's called with added tracks to it.
Okay.
And it's something that I want to find on vinyl, but it's hard to find. We're at number 9, right?
Yep, number 9.
Okay. My number 9 is going to be his debut album. His debut album, number 9. I think on this one he was still I don't want to say unsure.
Yeah.
But he was trying different things. There was a lot going on at that time. He left Buffalo Springfield. But still, what I like about this album was that it was not a repeat of Buffalo Springfield songs or that sound. It's completely different. Because there's nothing by Buffalo Springfield that sounds like The Loner. Absolutely nothing.
No,
sounds like The Loner.
Yeah.
And Here We Are in the Years is a good one too. And the last song, The Last Trip to Tulsa, he starts to introduce his long, winding story songs, which I believe he mastered on the beach. I've Been Waiting for You is a really good pop rock track as well, and he delivers that with conviction, and also The Old Laughing Lady, which will be a classic for him. He will bring that up over and over in acoustic shows, and he also did it on MTV Unplugged, and of course it was on Decade and released in so many different formats. But yeah, my number 9 is going to be his self-titled debut from 68 or 69. I think 69.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at CD 69. Yeah. That's a good choice. It's a good record, and I agree with you. It's experimental in some ways. It's almost like Neil leaving Buffalo Springfield and becoming Neil Young, solo and acoustic at that point. I think it's a good choice, though. It's a little higher on my list, but just because I played that one a lot. So Yeah, but I like that record. It's like you said, that the last song, the longer piece, it almost feels like an exploration into longer songwriting and storytelling. Almost feels like his Bite Her and the Snow Dog, which was Rush's first sort of epic storytelling, longer fantasy-based song, right? It led to
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like Bob Dylan's "A Desolation Road."
Right.
You know how Highway 61 ends.
Yep.
Look at that, or like even Tom Thumb Blues.
Yep, exactly. Cool. What number are we on now? We're on 8, right?
8. Yeah.
Okay, so coming back to Time Fades Away, I chose it as my number 8, and as I said, I don't have a physical copy, but I have the CD or digital, so I'm very familiar with the album. What I do have is a bootleg of that tour, which is kind of cool, and it's a Washington DC broadcast from '73, and it has all the tracks that he played live from that record on here, and a few others on the way home. Here We Are in the Years, Harvest, After the Gold Rush, Out on the Weekend, Old Man, Heart of Gold, Time Fades Away, Look Out Joe, Sugar Mountain, Sweet Joni,
Wow.
Refuge Denied, New Mama, Southern Man, Last Dance, and Let's Have a Party. That's the closing. Now, this captures the tour. I must say, though, like the live recording of this is not the highest quality bootleg, but it's not terrible. But it captures the essence of that tour very well, and it reminded me of the record so much, and that's why I wanted to go get it, because I really like the record. So it's a good live presentation if you ever get a chance. This is on my YouTube page if you want to hear it, or I can flip you a copy as well, a digital copy. That's why I chose that record. Like Time Fades Away is my number 8, because it has sentimental reasons for me to listen to that. I think there's some interesting music. It feels a bit like Tonight's the Night, and he's still going through a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and it's kind of a ragged kind of feel to it, you know.
Right.
And I'm so. Let me ask you, Will, on that bootleg there, are all the songs for Time Fades Away together, or are they separated, or are they played as an album?
Yeah, no, they're separated.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a mix. It seems to be like they are separated, but there seems to be like he'll play a couple of, as an example, there's 2 Harvest tracks back to back here, Old Man and Heart of Gold, and then he goes into Time Fades Away and then Look Out Joe.
Okay.
So, tonight, so it's interspersed in that sense, but it's a good representation of that tour. So
of that time, yeah.
Get a chance to check it out. I think you'll like it.
Yeah, because it sounds like it's got Harvest and Tonight's the Night, and that and Time Fades Away combined.
Yeah.
Because it was 74 or 75, huh?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go to your YouTube page and check that out.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that. If you want a digital copy, I've got it burned. I can send you the MP3s as well. So.
Oh, great! Thanks a lot. I appreciate that.
Sure.
My next one, we're at number 7.
Correct. Yeah.
Comes a Time.
Comes
a Time. I am. I do love every track on this. I do. Every track on here is fantastic. It's just that it's a little it's a little easy for him. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like when you hear Neil Young, you're challenged. This was a little kind of an easy listening album by him, but still songwriting is good. It's mainly acoustic based. I remember I had bought this one. No, you know what? This was a friend of mine's. Yeah. And I borrowed it and never gave it back.
Yeah.
And I meant to, but I never gave it back. But I remember my cousin had found it and he picked it up. He goes, "Hey, is this any good?" I go, "Oh yeah, you will like it." But unfortunately, he left it in his car, and here in Texas, it got so warped that it didn't play. And hopefully he found it again, but he didn't. But the tracks on here going back, man, that sounds great because it sounds like he's going back to his old sound after the Ditch trilogy and so many albums and songs that were kind of like in a depressing state for him. And this album had a lot of hope to it. Going back comes a time. Look out for My Love and Lot of Love, which Nicolette Sheridan made it a hit for herself, a really big hit. Peace of Mind is such a great track too. Peace of Mind and Human Highway and Already Won, which talks about his son with his ex. Field of Opportunity, and I know Four Strong Winds is a cover by Ian and Sylvia. But that song, Four Strong Winds, has a very sentimental feeling for me. It's an amazing song. And
got a lot of radio play too.
Did it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, very popular. I remember when I was in radio, we were still playing it.
And
EPs. Go ahead, Andy.
And Neil kind of made that song his own. He really did. I mean, he put so much feel into it. And it just felt like it was a Neil Young track to me.
I would agree with you.
What were you going to say about the radio?
Yeah, no, I was just saying that particular song was cut, Four Strong Winds, his version of it with Nicolette doing the background vocals.
Right.
Just excellent, perfect version of that song, and it was very played on the radio a lot. So it was a key song for the radio. It had that Neil Young country sound, what people, obviously the Harvest fans wanted. It was just a great radio track, and that's why it got played a lot. Comes a Time, obviously, that definitely got some radio play. And I'm thinking maybe going back to a Lot of Love, possibly Lot of Love. But there's some good stuff here. And actually, I'm going to jump right into my next one because my number 6 choice is Comes a Time. So you just captured it very well. I think there's some great tracks on here. It is a simpler Neil Young. It's very easygoing, this record. I agree with you. And the reason I like it too is when I learned to play guitar, I played to this record a lot because it wasn't that hard to play along with. So once I learned the basic chord structure, I was able to play with this. And I remember for me, music is all about where I am in time. And I remember being in my first apartment listening to this over and over again. And I mean, I was a young guy and I played this a lot. And Tonight's the Night. Those are my 2 favorites. So, again, like you covered this very well, all the tracks. Probably my personal favorite, Motorcycle Mama, just has a good feel to it. Peace of Mind, obviously, A Lot of Love. There's not a bad song on this record.
There's not.
No. So that's my, sorry to steal this, jump ahead, but that is my number 7.
And I believe A Lot of Love is with Crazy Horse with him on that track.
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't necessarily know it, listening to it, but because it's a softer piece. But they're a good backup band for some of the non-electric, more acoustic type jams too. So and I believe I had heard David Crosby thought that they were the worst band ever, but. I think that's a lot of jealousy, if you ask me, because nothing Crosby, Stills, and Nash did compared to Neil Young solo. That's just me. I mean, not even close. My number 6 might surprise you. Tonight's the Night. Oh wow! Okay.
Is my number 6 on this one. Yeah. The songs are good. It's a good album, of course. I really like the back with the rest of it. That's a pretty good pick of them. And I understand the feel of it and why it was recorded this way. It's a perfect middle of the night kind of album to put on in the middle of the night. It really is, especially a Friday or a Saturday night, like at 12:30 in the morning. So it's great.
Yeah,
it's got that perfect feel. But I do love it. But the writing is fantastic. The performance is fantastic, and the performance by Neil and the band matches the songs.
Yeah.
You know, it's the feel of the album that I wish it was a little bit more, because it's very bleak.
Yeah, it is extremely depressing. Yeah.
Especially like Tired Eyes and Speaking Out and Mellow My Mind. Roll another number.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's bookended by Tonight's the Night.
Yep.
And so yeah, that's all that I really have to say about it. But you know, this one too, it took me a while to find, and when I found it, I snatched it. And I love the feel of the vinyl. It's like some kind of cover that's kind of different. I don't know what you have. It's not glossy. It's like paper back kind of.
Yep. Yeah.
But
I agree with you. It took me a while to find it too. I just got a copy of it last year, as a matter of fact, on vinyl.
The difference between this Neil Young and other Neil Young albums is that other Neil Young albums I could put on any time. You really have to be in the mood for Tonight's the Night.
Yeah.
You can't just put this on at a party or a Saturday morning or it's a specific time for Tonight's the Night.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why this is a special album, because it's played at special times. It really is.
Yeah. I like your take on it. I think you're right. It's definitely not something you're going to throw on before work or something. It's a nighttime record for sure. Yeah, I like that. So what number are we on? 5? Yeah.
No, six.
Oh, I'm sorry, 6. So 6 comes a time for me. So I think we're jumping to number 5 now for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's right. We did Comes a Time, and then you did your number. Yep, that's good. My number 5 is After the Gold Rush. And I just got this last year on vinyl. And I think we had a copy of this years ago, and I'm not sure where it went. My wife had one. But this is a classic, This is probably one of the more popular records. And I'm just going to open up. It's got the classic shot of Neil sitting on the couch.
Yeah, I've always liked that picture of him.
Yeah, exactly. Just chilling out between sessions and recording, I guess. It's got the classic cover and, with the old lady in the background. And it's just, this is just an epic record. So many good songs on here. Tell Me Why, After the Gold Rush, obviously. Only Love Can Break Your Heart. Southern Man, of course. Till the Morning Comes. Oh Lonesome Me, Don't Let It Bring You Down. This is another mood record. Okay, I agree with you. It's not as. There's a lot of different feelings with this record. The songs take you on a journey, ups and downs, but there's definitely a theme to this record, and there's a feel to this record. You're up, you're down on this when you play these songs. Mm-hmm. It's lyrically brilliant. I can see why this is probably one of his most popular records ever. And I know record sales for this were huge, and still are, I'm sure. Probably one of the more well-known records of his. People would say, yes, I have a copy of that. When You Dance, I Can Really Love. Epic Crazy Horse song, Neil and Crazy Horse. I Believe in You and Cripple Creek Ferry. It's got so many variations on this record. And it's funny, when I was putting the list together, I was like, I like that record. And now that I'm actually looking at it, I realize, reading the songs and thinking about the history, this is an amazing record. I just haven't played it in a long time. But this, again, there's so many different levels to this record. I think it's one of his best.
Yeah.
That would be my take on it for number 5.
My number 5 is going to be After the Gold Rush. Same thing, I love it. Especially, I want to say especially because it's not especially, but a couple of stories behind the album cover that I read. He was going through his divorce with his first wife, and his first wife was older than him.
Oh.
So that's where I read where this shows a divorce happening with an old lady and him going opposite ways.
Interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah.
And also, this is the first time he met Nils Lofgren. Nils Lofgren had wanted to get his band Grin off the floor there, and he was David Briggs was helping him, and Neil Young, and he walked into these sessions with Briggs, and Neil Young said, "Yeah, well, why don't you jump on piano?" And Nils Lofgren said, "I've never played piano. I don't play piano. I play guitar." And Neil said, "I play guitar. You're going to play the piano." And the first time he played piano was on Southern Man.
Oh,
you know that beat?
Yeah.
That's by Nils, and I think it was like either 17 or 18 years old. That was the first time he ever played the piano. Wow. He just keeps that beat going. Yeah.
Amazing.
So he played on Southern Man. And also Crosby, Stills, and Nash were also on here. And you can hear their vocals, their beautiful vocals on I Believe in You.
Yeah.
And Tell Me Why, the same thing with their backing vocals. But, it's hard to put this one where it is because you're right. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Exactly. And this is one that you could, if you were going to somebody who's never listened to Neil Young and was just mildly aware of them, and you were going to play them something, say this would be a perfect record. Because it's got a little bit of everything. You know? Mm-hmm. It's got the songwriting, it's got the lyric, the musicianship, it's got the softer pieces, it's got the harder pieces. I think it's an excellent record.
Yeah. Yeah, and it also has the oddness of Till the Morning Comes.
Yeah.
And the beautiful cover of Don Gibson's Oh Lonesome Me. I never knew that was a cover, but he does it so well. And Birds, When You See Me Fly Away. It's just, and it's a heartbreaking album. Yeah. It is. It's the dissolve of a relationship, and it's sad, but it's a really good album. And again, you'll play this for a Neil Young beginner, but also it's a timepiece. It can all be played at certain times. Yeah.
It's a good point. It's a good point, Andy. Do you have a lyric sheet inside? Because I got lucky, I guess, and I got the lyric sheet that came with it. I was lucky to get that.
No, I didn't. Mine's got just the do you know how they do like advertisement for the record company?
Oh yes.
This is like a Warner Brothers reprise leaders and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't have that. That's cool.
Yeah. And then it's got the albums that they had released that year, what's available and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which cool. I'd rather have the lyric sheet, but
yeah. I honestly didn't know that was in there. It's a bit beat up, but this is an older one. I got it still last year, so I'm happy to add it to my collection, Good. Okay, so number 4.
You know what? I'm at number 5.
Oh, you got number 5?
Yeah.
Well, I'm ahead of you because I started. That's why.
Okay.
Yep. So I'm just going over my list. Yeah, and we kind of came together on Comes a Time. I think that's what happened.
Okay.
We were both closely in discussion there around those choices. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'm on number 4. We talked about everything. So yeah, my number 4 was this guy who just celebrated his 50th anniversary, Harvest. And now this is an album you can jam to. If you're a new guitar player, which I was when I started listening to this, another one. And this has shadings of electric in there too. The band's live on the floor in the barn. You know, we know how famous this record is, and we know how amazing it is. And the fact that it's 50 years old is pretty astounding to me.
It just turned 50 yesterday.
Yeah, it is amazing. And I was going to spin it today, actually, so I might do that tonight. It's got that classic shot of Neil on his ranch. And that classic shot, I think a lot of these guys are no longer with us. I know Ben Stills, obviously. And so that's a famous shot of them. And they kind of recaptured that setting, I guess, with Barn.
The barn, yeah.
You know, which is kind of cool. I don't know if it's the same location. I'm not sure. But this, you know, there's so many amazing songs. You can understand why this put him in the spotlight. This is the record that put him in the light of fame, in the limelight, so to speak, and why he shied away from all of that afterwards, because he became very popular, and then he was receiving so much pressure to be this Neil Young afterwards. You know, the songs, excellent lyrics and musicianship on these, excellent acoustic playing. Side one, Out on the Weekend, Harvest, A Man Needs a Maid, Heart of Gold, Are You Ready for the Country? Side two, Old Man, There's a World, Alabama, The Needle and the Damage Done, and Words. So there isn't a song on here that isn't known to Neil Young fans, and probably some casual Neil Young fans too would mention this record, and or at least one of the songs in this record, if not a couple. Again, it's, you know, it's not a bad record. There's nothing wrong with this album.
Oh no, yeah, you're right.
That if you were to play again, kind of like we were talking a minute ago, if you were to play a record for somebody who is not a Neil Young fan, you could start with this one as well as the last one. After the Gold Rush.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's just, that's why it fell into my number 4. This copy, I guess I got lucky. Actually, no, I didn't buy this recently. I've had this one since my 20s, so it's got the lyric sheet inside as well, which is cool. So I don't know if I bought this or my wife bought it, but it's been around with us for a long time. Excellent album. So what do you got for number 4?
Harvest. Harvest. You know, I checked it. I haven't really pulled it out. Oh well, I pulled the album out, but I've got the lyric sheet as well. You know,
Okay.
but what I was gonna say was about this album, because you already said everything pretty well. But you know, every track on here is fantastic. I mean, there's not a bad track on here. The first time I saw him was for a Neil Young solo show, and it was acoustic, and he started off with Out on the Weekend.
Wow.
So that was a big deal for me, because I love that song to begin with. I think I almost jumped out of my seat.
Yeah.
Harvest is such a great song. The way that it's written, and the song Harvest, you can really see what he's singing about. You know, the people he's singing about, like a scene. I was never a big fan of A Man Needs a Maid because of all the Jack Nitschke strings and stuff like that. But after I heard it on archives or different forums on piano, I really liked it. And when he changes the lyrics, not to A Man Needs a Maid, not A Man Needs a Maid, but A Man is Afraid. You know, that's what was the working title for it was. And of course, Heart of Gold, which is, you know, I used to sing that at karaoke's.
Yeah, for sure.
Old Man with James Taylor and Linda Ronstadt, and the song Old Man, he when he's introducing it in a concert, he's talked about an old man who used to work for him at the barn.
Yeah.
And that's what that song reflects about. And another reason why this is at this number is because of A Man Needs a Maid and There's a World. I just don't like those two tracks.
Right. Okay.
With these other songs, but Alabama is just a killer, And right now there's a lot of controversy about Neil Young and Spotify or whatever, but that's nothing new to Neil Young. He's always put his feelings out there.
Yeah.
It's nothing new. If it's Alabama because he didn't like the way that Governor Wallace was elected, and he was still thinking the old ways, or another album called Living with War. If he was against the Iraq War, he always talked about what he was against. So this is nothing new.
Yeah.
But of course, these days everybody has to make a big deal about everything.
Yeah. Sure.
And the song Words, I love that song Words, and I like it even on this release here. This it was on a soundtrack for A Journey Through the Past.
Yes.
Yeah, and I didn't include this because it's a compilation or a live album, and Words takes up all of side 2.
Okay, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and it's a stop and go, but a lot of feedback.
Okay, yeah.
On that. So, Harvest is my number 4.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. Actually, I considered Journey Through the Past as well, and I just picked that up last year. I haven't listened to it yet, but I was reading about it today. There's a lot of stuff on there that I didn't know about, so I need to investigate that record.
Oh, it's good. It's
and some unusual stuff. Yeah,
exactly. It's very unusual, but for a Neil Young fan, it's not surprising how Neil Young arranges these tracks together and the way that it flows.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. No, I agree with you, Harvest. It's funny, we're now syncing up, I noticed, with our lists. So we had we were pretty close in the lower numbers, and we had some variations, but I noticed we're starting to sync up with our favorites, so it's interesting.
I think it might start to get a little different.
Yeah, it could. Yeah. It could very well. So for number 3, I've got probably the first Neil Young record I bought. Everybody knows this is Nowhere. And that's my original copy. It's a Canadian copy too, which is kind of cool. I played this so much, and this was when I really started to get into Neil. And it's an excellent game. I love gatefolds, by the way. I don't know if you knew that, but I always look for the gatefolds first if I can find it, whatever I'm buying. I like the presentation of a gatefold. There's just so much to look at. So much nicer than the digital world in that sense.
Oh yeah, definitely.
A little CD booklet, but no, I got into this record. Once I got into this, I started to play this. I think I played this for a year, and I never stopped playing. It's got classic tracks, Cinnamon Girl. Everybody knows this is Nowhere, Round and Round, which is an unusual song, but it's good. Down by the River, of course. The Losing End, Running Dry, Requiem for the Rockets. And that's also a kind of an unusual song for Neil, but you know what? It's different, and I like it. And of course, the classic Cowgirl in the Sand. So he's got some key pieces on here that were introductions of those pieces and big numbers. Down by the River, Cowgirl in the Sand. These are huge hits.
Oh yeah.
Excellent sounding Neil on here, electric Neil, some acoustic bits, great sound writing. Again, this one is somewhat exploratory as well, kind of like his first one. And because it's early in his days, I find that it is exploratory in that sense. But I like it, you know. And I think he was becoming the Neil that we know, you know, in a few years after this. So leading up to sort of the Harvest era and beyond with Crazy Horse. So that's my take on it. It's an excellent record.
Hey, so I think the reason why we might be off, did you include Russ Never Sleeps?
Yeah, I did.
You did? Okay. All right. So my number 4 is going to be or wherever we're at.
Yep.
My Russ Never Sleeps.
Yep.
It's a great album. I absolutely love it. It's I remember when I had bought this, I was in my apartment and I played it like crazy, and mine's got the lyrics, Bill,
Oh,
in
okay.
blue.
Nice.
Yeah. Um, of course, the bookends of Hey Hey by My Out of the Blue and then Out of the Black classics. But man, if I'd be lying if Thrasher wasn't one of my favorite tracks by Neil.
Mm-hmm.
I just love Thrasher. Just that long, winding storytelling, acoustic bass, great lyrics. And there's so many times, every time I hear that song, Thrasher, it reminds me that there's a point there that he might be talking about Crosby, Stills, and Nash, how he just left his friends there because he got bored.
Mm-hmm.
I got bored and I left him there.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Because he wanted to move on. He had more things to do, and just that line, especially when I got this when I was in my early 20s.
Yep.
And that line, I burned my credit card for fuel. I sure as hell did. I needed to get to places and I had no money, so I burned my credit card.
Absolutely. No, I think it speaks to that era, and listening to it, I agree with you. It's an amazing record.
Yeah.
There's so many good things. I was reading about it today, and I'll talk about it more in a minute. But no, it's the kind of record that stays with you, and the songs speak to you. And I think as young men, when we listen to it, it really meant something to us. And I agree with you with that line is great. There's so many great lines within the songs, and I remember playing that record over and over again. Still do. It's still one I go to.
Oh yeah, me too. And of course, the line on the great Powderfinger. I just turned 22 and I was wondering what to do.
Yes.
I mean that's so classic. Sedan Delivery, but side one is really, even though it's acoustic, it's the meat and potatoes. It really is. It's got Ride My Llama, Pocahontas, the beautiful Pocahontas. I mean,
beautiful song.
It is, and Sail Away. Meet the winners. Meet the winners in the dives. How did that go?
Meet the losers in the best bars. Meet the winners in the dives. I think.
Right. Yeah.
Excellent line. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. So I got this one as my number 4. It's I love it. I just do. I just think he was just on top of his game. With this one.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was reading about that album today when I was doing some research, and so Live Russ came out after that, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. It was.
Live Russ was a full live representation of that tour, and the movie to be released in sync with the movie release.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting is because people didn't understand what Neil had done with this record, with Russ Never Sleeps, and that it was recorded live, but he removed the audience, and that's why the acoustic tracks sound, you don't hear the audience, but it is technically a live record, but he labeled it as a live studio record, which is kind of interesting. So if you want a true live show, Live Rust is the one to listen to. But this one, I noticed from the comments I was reading that people tend to gravitate towards this Russ Never Sleeps more than the other one.
Oh well, yeah, because it's like a new album instead of a compilation kind of, or like a everyday double album that was coming out at that time. It makes Russ Never Sleeps very special.
Yep, I agree with you. Got another question about Pocahontas for you. Do you prefer the acoustic version on that record, or do you prefer the live version on Year of the Horse?
Both.
Both. Okay.
Yeah, both.
Me too.
Yeah.
I like both takes.
Yeah. I like this, and then also on his archives, like a song for Judy, I believe.
Okay.
I believe that's also done plugged in.
Okay.
Pocahontas.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a great song, and no matter what the if it's acoustic or electric, the message still rings true.
Right.
It doesn't change the meaning of the song, and that's odd, and that's weird to do because sometimes you enjoy the acoustic because it's got that feel of storytelling. But he does, but it's fine both ways, and it's a treat actually to hear it differently, like on the year of the horse. It's a treat to hear it that way.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a great live presentation. I don't think they're just different presentations of the same great song.
Yeah,
that's how
it doesn't take it away.
Yeah, exactly. And he's done that with some other pieces too, of which I can't think right now, but I know he's done that where he's done a live version of an acoustic piece or vice versa. And yeah, it's just like Shots comes to mind. He's done the Reactor version, which is very popular and cool sounding song. And then he's never done Shots live electrically, as far as I know. But he has done, I think there are some bootleg versions of Shots being done acoustically. And it has the same feel, which is interesting. So like only Neil can deliver a song like that and give you that feeling, you know.
It's because you believe in what he writes.
Yeah.
You know? And there's so many artists, and that's what makes rock and roll the greatest genre.
Yeah.
It's written by the people who sing it.
Yeah.
So there's a more belief in it, because when it comes to country or pop, there's songwriters for all that most of the time, about maybe 85% of the time.
Yeah.
But when you get a rock record, about 90% of the time, it's the artist that writes it, if not more than 90%.
Right.
That's what makes rock and roll more special.
Yeah, I would agree. Cool. All right, what do we got? So I'm on number 2. I know we got lost somewhere, but that's that's where I am. So my number 2, and this takes me back to another one of my first apartments. Tonight's the Night. So again, you captured this very well when you said this is an evening record, because you worked night shift in those days. And I would come home at like 5 in the morning after working all night, and I would play this while I fell asleep. So I would have a couple of drinks, and I smoked cigarettes in those days and maybe some other stuff. So I would relax and listen to this. And I mean, I was seriously broke back then, so I was already depressed. So this album just made me feel better in some ways. It's rock bottom on this record too. So that's why it takes me back, and that's why it's my number 2. Just because this album takes me back to a time in my life. And for me, it was a nighttime record. Like, I think what you said there was so funny, because that's exactly when I played it, middle of the night or in the wee small hours. So I got this a while ago. Last year, I got a lot of Neil last year. I was lucky to find it, but it's a gatefold. I'll just show that to you, which is kind of cool. Great picture. And actually, it's just a basic sleeve inside, so nothing special in mine. But now some great tunes on here. A lot of pain on this record, and just a good record. Depressing as all hell, but if you are looking for a 70s version of Smashing Pumpkins, then this is the one to listen to, right? So
yeah,
pure depression right here on a disc. So excellent record, though. That's why it's my number 2.
Yeah.
Again, it takes me back to being 19, 20, 21. So
and you're right about saying being broke at the time. I was broke, but I always had music around me. I don't know how. Right. I didn't have much food or gas money, but I had abundance of music around me.
Yep, exactly.
So,
well, because it was so cheap back then. Let's be honest. You could buy a record for $5, right?
Yeah.
And, new release would come out. It was $5, give or take. Plus you would record stuff off the radio if you had a cassette player. And, music got us through a lot, right? So.
Oh yeah, and I always had music from when I was a kid. I just, moved everything with me. I made sure that I had all my music and just move it all with me.
Yeah.
I might have had one chair, no couch, but I had a record collection.
Yep, for sure. Exactly. And now
my next one is going to be, everybody knows this is Nowhere.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Great stuff. The only reason, Cinnamon Girl, everybody knows this is Nowhere. And the wonderful Down by the River, which I heard Down by the River just the other day when I took my dogs walking, but on the live version, live from the Fillmore.
Oh,
which
okay.
yeah. And the first time I heard the Losing In was when I heard it on this album, because it wasn't an album. I mean, it wasn't a hit song for him. It was an album track, and I loved it. I think when I had gotten this album, I had played it over and over. I would pick up the needle and start the song over again.
Yep.
I love the Losing In, and I was so happy to find it on the Neil Young archives. I think it's on one of them. I gotta look through them. And Running Dry, it was okay, but like you had said, it's weird, Neil.
Yeah.
But of course, the ever classic Cowgirl in the Sand reminds me of being a teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I grew up in Corpus Christi, so I was along the Gulf Coast.
Okay.
So Cowgirl in the Sand. I remember being out on the beach and seeing, pretty girls all around, and and that song always sticks out to me and takes me back to that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cowgirl in the Sand. Neil Young. This was a great album. Yeah. I still play this one a lot. In fact, there's a lot of these that I still throw on quite a bit.
Yeah, it's got that
timeless.
That vibe to it, kind of like the first Rush record. Before Neil Peart, that's a driving hard rock record. The bass playing, John Rutsey on drums. It's just a solid rock album. It's got a great feel to it, and it's a great 74, great 70s record. Got that early 70s feel, and so I throw that on regularly, just like that one. Everybody knows this is Nowhere. It's got a great feel. It sounds good no matter what, and the LP sounds better than the digital, I'm sure. Right?
Yeah, and of course that album you can play anytime, any day, anywhere.
Exactly.
So I've got two more albums. So you got one more. I guess we got off there for just a moment.
You go ahead. You go. Show me your next one.
Okay, so my number 2 is going to be On the Beach.
Okay.
There's that car you were talking about.
Yep.
And there's Neil, and the inside of it, it's got the lyric sheet as well.
Yep.
And the more I read it, it's got a couple of musicians on here from the band. Actually,
okay.
It's got I believe if I read them all, it's going to have Levon Helm is almost on every track.
Okay.
And Richard Manuel, is it Richard? No, Rick Danko is on this album quite a bit.
Okay.
I absolutely love this album. We talked about the songs, but I'm going to go into a little bit more in depth of it. Walk On, but Revolution Blues. I've always heard that's and Neil denies it, but about Charles Manson.
Yeah.
How Charles Manson will come and hang around a lot at the Laurel Canyon because he wanted to get into that group, and he would come in with Dennis Wilson, and that's what that song's about. And to go back a little bit more, the Bianca murders there with Sharon Tate. Charles Manson was supposed to, he wanted to go murder or hurt the record producer who lived there, who was renting it, because Charles Manson wanted a record deal so bad, But
Yep.
that guy, I forgot his name, but did not want to deal with him because he knew there was something off.
Yep.
And he had moved out of the house before the Tates moved in.
Okay.
So when the Manson family went in there, they thought
Oh,
that they thought that there was the record producer still there,
wow.
but the producer had left.
Okay. Interesting.
So that's when the murders had happened.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I remember reading that Charlie ran into Neil at a party and was around that time and showed him some lyrics and said, I want to be, I want to cut a record. Can you help me? Would you read my songs here? And Neil read them and said that they're not good. You need to work on them, but gave him constructive criticism.
Mhm.
Charlie being Charlie, of course, went the other way and took it the wrong way and got mad.
Yeah.
And then went off and became who he is. But, that's what I read anyway. That's interesting history you're telling me.
And of course, he gravitated towards Dennis Wilson,
Yeah.
from the Beach Boys, because Dennis was in part of these Laurel Canyons, where, of course, the other Beach Boys were not.
Yeah.
And Manson would actually hang out a lot at the late '60s recordings of like Smile and Wild Honey and Friends and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
But to get back to these tracks, See the Sky About to Rain, of course, is great. Vampire Blues and the track On the Beach, he's dealing with his celebrityism, or him being a celebrity, him trying to say, I don't want it.
Yeah.
And especially at this time, how it changed from 72 to 74.
Yeah.
From Harvest to here. And Harvest, everybody wanted to be around him and be Neil Young's friend. Now, two years later, he's not top of the charts anymore. And now no one wants to interview him. Nobody cares what he's doing. And he does his best work. Motion pictures and Ambulance Blues. Of that line, you're just pissing in the wind.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like a friend to tell you you're just pissing in the wind.
Yeah.
It's just the lyricism to this album is great.
Yep.
And the same cousin who left the Comes a Time melt in the car, we were at a record convention and he picked up On the Beach. And then he said, "Hey, Andy, is this good?" I said, "Hell yeah." I said, "Don't leave it in the car."
No.
So On the Beach. And I don't know if you noticed this inside, it's very weird.
No, I don't own it. So
it's like flowered wallpaper. And the
oh,
inside, do you see that kind of?
yeah. Oh,
You see
wow.
where it's like flowers and like a
Oh,
1970s Formica color.
yeah.
It's really weird. Yeah.
Like Paisley, it's different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like just flat. It's like a 70s floral arrangement,
Yeah.
or like what wallpaper would look like in a 1970s home.
Yeah, that's right. That's cool. Yeah, is that hard to find? Is that one hard to find? Because I haven't seen it. Like, I haven't gone looking hard for it, but I don't see it when I do local searches or marketplace or anywhere. I don't see that one a lot.
Yeah, I don't see that one a lot either.
Yeah.
I don't. I remember when I had found it, I was, because once you get into Neil Young, I bought all these used. Okay.
Yeah.
So every time I would see a Neil Young, and still today I pick it up.
Yeah.
If I don't have it, because I usually don't get doubles. So I would pick it up every time I saw Neil Young's name. And my uncle and I are both Neil Young's fans. And I remember when we would get to the used record store, we would run across the parking lot and kind of push each other, trying to get to the Y first.
Yeah.
So
that's the first thing I head for when I hit a record store is the Rush and the Neil Young.
Yeah.
That's my first stop. Then Black Sabbath. Then I look around.
Yeah. I would go straight to the Ys.
Yep.
And right now, when I go to the record places, I'm going straight to CD box sets.
Okay. Yeah.
I just want to get my hands on as many box sets
Right.
as I can. And then I'm going to a record convention in April, in the end of April. And, sometimes that could put a damper on your finances. So I'm, from each paycheck, I'm putting $20 away, $20 away, slowly and surely. In a couple of months, I'll have a nice little stack and go see what I can find,
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. What I do is I do sell a little bit, and I'll leave that money in my PayPal account, and then I use that for music that I want to buy. So I don't sell much. I mean, I had a good run a number of years ago, and I inherited my dad's jazz collection, classical, and so but I was actually selling records, classic rock before that. So when the vinyl surge started around that time, probably about 6-7 years ago, when the vinyl thing really started to take off. Now prices are ridiculous, Oh, that's what I do. So now I don't sell a lot anymore because I only have unique, one-of-a-kind things. So unless I've got double copies, so sometimes I will do that as well. If something new comes out, I'll buy two.
Right.
One I really want to sell later on. And this is the other thing I've learned about collecting is it's all timing. Like stuff comes out, especially new stuff. You got to grab it at the time because it's only going to appreciate in value, and you won't be able to find it later on.
Yeah. When a record started to become popular again, like you said 6 or 7 years ago, I was like, damn it, because I would get things for cheap, and everything was so easy to get.
Yep.
You would go and find, and now I went to the record store, and I was going to say Pat Benatar because she's up for the nominee, and now her used albums are like $7.99 when they were $1.99. I was like, what the hell? What the hell happened here?
Yeah, exactly. It's true.
Oh, thanks a lot, Bob. Thanks a lot for watching the show. I knew that you would, Bob, so thank you.
Oh, good.
There's a little comments on the side.
Okay, excellent.
All right, Will, what is your number one?
Okay, well,
I really thought that it was going to be Tonight's the Night, so I'm going to be surprised.
We were going to get there. Yeah, it was pretty close, but the one that I haven't talked about yet, Russ Never Sleeps. That's my number one. And we went into some good detail on this. We didn't talk about, well, we did briefly talk about the production. I love the production. It's a live record without the audience portion. I like that. It's got that live feel.
Yeah.
It's still captured. And
it sounds like an empty stage.
Yeah, it really does. That's exactly well said. That's how it feels. It's iconic, and it's just as we discussed before. It just has a lot of impact. This one is a Canadian pressing, not a gate. I don't know if this was ever released in a gatefold, but it's got this insert, Neil with the giant harmonica from the tour.
Oh,
and it's got that picture on the back with Crazy Horse jamming, which is excellent. Again, this record is just the best. The way it flows, the way it feels, the memories associated with it. And I had this on cassette, I had it on CD, and then I got it on vinyl a couple of years ago, which is great. And again, I bought it used, and as long as it's playable and it sounds good, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
And I got it from a guy local. And I said, stay in touch. If you have any other Neil Young, let me know. I'm always looking. So, and he has a pretty good collection. So he had an extra one of these, and that's why he sold it. So I got it for I paid like $40 for it, but I don't mind because I didn't have it, and I wanted it in my collection.
Yeah.
And it sounds amazing. It sounds amazing on vinyl.
I found I've also got American Stars and Bars on cassette, and it sounds better than on the vinyl. And I also recently I found Harvest on cassette. I tried to get different, not multiple records, but multiple media. Like I've got Harvest on cassette, CD, and album. The same thing with
Yep.
the same thing with after the Gold Rush. I've got them in all three formats.
Yep.
So number one for you was Russ Never Sleeps.
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah. Well, my number one has been number no, I don't want to say it's been number one a long time, but it's been number one back and forth, back and forth. And Kenny, you guess it? It's one that I haven't talked about yet.
Yeah, I think Zuma.
Zuma.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
This you know, let's talk about the songs. Don't Cry No Tears, you know, it's an up tempo rock, pop rock, which what makes Zuma so great. What it's part of that Ditch trilogy, but it's the one about hope.
Yeah, right.
It's the one he's digging himself out. There's you know, I believe this is the one where Billy Talbot, no, Frank San Pedro makes his first entrance here, actually finding a replacement for Danny Whitten.
Yeah.
And so I guess that's why it's moving forward. You know, Danger Bird is a great blues song.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's sung with so much. Of course, everybody says that Neil Young does not have a great voice, which, you know, he doesn't, but he sings so raw and so true.
Yeah, that's right. It's unique.
It's very unique, and you believe what he's singing about. Looking for a Love is another just a breezy acoustic song. And Barstool Blues, it's got that great rocking, immediate vocalization. And then side two, you know, Stupid Girl. I love the way it slows down.
Yep.
And how the backing vocals by Crazy Horse just like winding down, and then Drive Back again. It's in your face. And of course, one of his iconic songs, Cortes the Killer, with the long guitar work. It sits up there with Cowgirl in the Sand and Like a Hurricane. And then it ends with Through My Cells. Beautifully done with Crosby, Stills, and Nash. And there's another version on it of Through My Cells on Archives 2 with just Neil by himself. And it's just as good without the Crosby, Stills, and Nash backing vocals. But, you know, again, that song reminds me of Corpus Christi, you know, the beach. You know, wind blowing through my cells. It feels like I'm gone. You know, it feels like I'm home. It's a great record. You know, there's not much more to say about Zuma. I think it's wonderful. It's a celebration of him moving forward. And the music plays that way.
Yeah, I was going to say it feels progressive in that sense. It feels like something new,
so fresh.
Era of the band. Yeah, exactly. How does it sound on vinyl compared to, say, CD or digital?
Fuller.
Yeah,
a lot fuller.
Yeah.
Because that one I've also got on CD. I played it like forever on CD, and then I found it on album. It was like, man, it's just the way that the albums were produced in the 70s. You know, because it was produced so well on vinyl because that was the only format.
That's
you
right.
You weren't going to find it, and they weren't going to make it better next time. You know what? This was it. This was do or die. It has to sound perfect. It has to sound full. And now I know that there's new vinyl out there, and it sounds good. But nothing beats that 70s sound.
I agree. It was produced at a time when the equipment was that you own, that quadraphonic or stereo or whatever, you know, was made for that era of equipment. We didn't have digital back then. And it sounds I've heard digital reproductions of the classic records from back then. They're not as good. They sound tinny, They sound like they're going through a can, like they're muddled, they're compressed. It might be digital. Now there's some amazing digital music being released now with some more modern rock bands where they're cutting stuff up vinyl and it sounds clean and it sounds like the new tunes either. I have it on digital, I've got it on CD, and I've got it on album. It sounds incredible. But again, it's on my new turntable, and with the right equipment, I've got good speakers, the whole thing. But if you take something, as an example, we've got old blues records. Those things were recorded live in the studio, right to tape. And I've heard the digital reproductions of those old blues records. They don't sound the same. The LP sounds better. When we did Blues for Elves, as an example, when we spun that, that's live, right off the floor. And you can hear every conversation, everything going on. It sounds amazing on vinyl. I've heard the digital production of that. It's not the same. It's been cleaned up, and it's too clean. It doesn't sound good.
You know what? Last night, now that you say that, last night I was listening to Joe Bonamassa.
Oh, yes.
And I think it was one of his first albums. In fact, I think I left the cover inside. But it just doesn't sound it's digital on CD, but it just doesn't have that feel,
Yeah, right.
It just doesn't have that feel. Not that I'm putting CDs down because I like CDs. It just sometimes if that's just the way that you can find it, that's just the way you're gonna find it.
Yep.
I'm not a music snob. Like if I find Neil Young something, if it's a cassette or something, I'm gonna pick it up no matter what the format. And I'm gonna bring it home and I'm gonna enjoy it.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, no, I agree. I got something to show you, Andy. I brought upstairs when I was pulling out my stuff for tonight's show, but I don't know if you have this on vinyl. Mirrorball.
Yes, I do.
You're very lucky because that is, to find a copy of Mirrorball like an OG now, you're looking at $150 to $250, $300 range. Very difficult to find.
And in fact, I bought that when it came out.
Oh, you were smart.
Yeah, because I'm a big Pearl Jam fan.
Yeah. Okay.
And especially at that time when their albums like Vitology and Animal and Versus stuff like that. And they had released a 2-track EP called Merkinball.
Okay.
As well with Neil. And sometimes it's called Neil Young, sometimes it's called Pearl Jam, but either way, I loved Mirrorball.
Yeah.
When I tell people, like when they ask, well, what's it sound like? I said, well, picture Neil Young and Crazy Horse, just it's Pearl Jam in place of Crazy Horse.
Yep, exactly. No, I am not. I've never taken the time to get into Pearl Jam, but this album is one of my favorites. So, now this is a bootleg. This is a German bootleg, and I got it for about $50. And it's the original Mirrorball might be gatefold. I'm not sure. This one just has a picture sleeve inside. But I played it and it sounds incredible. And I was quite happy to get it because I didn't want to pay $300 for a record.
Yeah,
happy to receive this.
Yeah, this one doesn't have a gatefold.
Okay.
It's but it's a double. Well, not really a double album, but because they needed the room.
Yep.
It had to be a double, but it's got the lyrics, which are kind of crazy to read.
Yeah, so I've got that too. It's well done. It's got the original sheet. So which is cool. Yeah.
And the album is pure black, except for the writings.
Yeah. Okay. So this is exactly the same. That's interesting.
Yeah. And this was pressed in reprised. It doesn't have the year, but the year's got to be here somewhere.
Right.
But yeah, I remember when they came out on. Did you ever see on the MTV Awards? I think It was Neil Young with Pearl Jam doing "Rocking in the Free World."
Yes.
That was just an amazing performance, you know.
Yep. Absolutely.
But this had to be 2000. Oh, well, of course, it had to be 2000 something. Oh no, it's not. Oh wow, 1995.
Oh yeah, this goes back.
Yeah. This goes back.
Yep. So what's interesting is you can't find a good bootleg of that tour. You can find some videos on YouTube, and I've got a couple. Three songs. There are some bootlegs out there of that tour, but they're very crappy. They're hard to find. Number one, they're low quality. So I managed to find a show. A friend of mine in Germany connected me to a site that has a Canadian site in the U.S. and they're everywhere, and they distributed these hard to find shows. Oliver, I think you know him. So anyway, I found a Mirrorball tour show, and it's supposed to be a soundboard or close to it. So I ordered it. It's on CD, so it should be here this week. So I can't wait to hear that because it's the complete show of the Mirrorball tour, which again, I can't wait to hear that. So if it's good, I'll try and upload it somehow and get it to you.
Yeah. And if you want to get into Pearl Jam, write down these albums. 10 is their debut album.
Okay.
Versus is their second album.
Okay.
Versus Vitology is a really great album from beginning to end. Yeah, Vitology, and No Code has like a kind of a acoustic feel to it.
Yep. All right.
With a lot of different sound. And now those were their first four. And if you want to get into Pearl Jam, those are the first four that you would want to concentrate on.
Okay, good tip.
Yeah.
I'll do that. Yeah, I'll check them out. Like I said, I've just never taken the time. I'm aware of them. I know a couple songs from the radio, but that's about it. So
yeah, I've got the first three on vinyl, and the first one I bought when it came out, when they re-released it for the 10-year anniversary. Okay. They did the original pressing and then a remix of it.
Okay.
Which was really cool. And in fact, last week actually, I went to a used bookstore and they had this one by Pearl Jam. It's called Riot Act.
Oh, okay.
And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think maybe number 7th album.
Okay.
And there's a gatefold of them recording, of course, in Seattle. But this is also a really good album. But I would start with those 4.
Okay.
Those 4 that I gave you, and let that kind of guide you which way to go.
Okay, good. I'll do that. I appreciate the tip.
Yeah, because if you don't like those 4, you're not going to like the others. But
that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah.
But that's where I would start, and I'll probably play Vitology here when I am after the show, just because I haven't heard in a while.
Right. Cool. So one more question: do you have Weld on vinyl? Because that's very hard to find these days too.
Weld I do not have on vinyl. I've got on, I want to say 1 CD, because when I bought it, it only had 1 CD in it because it's a double.
Okay, yeah.
So on Weld, I've only got it that way. Okay. And I've never picked up Arc. I almost did, but I heard what it was, a lot of feedback, and I stayed away. But I want it now because of just being of the completist.
Yeah, I have Arc and I have Weld on CD, and I have Arc on CD. I don't have Weld on vinyl because that'll cost you about $300 for a good copy. But Arc is unique. I will say that. I don't think I played it. I probably skipped through it because it is 45 minutes of distortion clips.
Distortion, yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting, but there is one of the original releases was the 3 of them put together in a package called Arc Weld with a nice long box set, which kind of was cool because it had all 3 CDs in there. So that's hard to find now. I don't think there's a lot still out there. I'm sure if you looked hard enough and you were willing to pay, you could find it. But
no, I do have this one on album as well, Sleeps with Angels.
oh, right. I have that on CD,
Yeah, and I absolutely love the song Change Your Mind.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. I love it. And then I got this. Of course, this is one of his latest ones that I really loved. This Living with War.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I thought it was great. But, I've also got these Old Man's Fancy. You ever seen that one?
No, I've never seen that one. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Old Man's Fancy. It's Neil Young live at the LA Forum November 4th with Firefall as a guest.
Okay.
But this has the title of the songs are a little different. It's got Even Richard Nixon's Got It, which of course is The Campaigner.
Yep.
It's got Human Highway, After the Gold Rush, Marlon Brando, Pocahontas and Me, which we know is Pocahontas.
Yep.
And it also has Too Far Gone. Too Far Gone was a song that he dealt a lot with in the 70s, and he didn't release it later on until Freedom.
Yeah, until Freedom, that's right.
Old Man, A Man Needs a Maid, Sugar Mountain, Country Home, another song that didn't come out until Ragged Glory.
Yep.
Also has Don't Cry No Tears. Down by the River, A Lot of Love, Like a Hurricane.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a double. And then side 4 has Cinnamon Girl, Cortes the Killer, Just Like Tom Thumb's Blues, and Like a Rolling Stone. He covers those two Dylan songs.
Cool.
And then also I got this one here as well, the complete Neil Young.
Oh, nice.
And
that's
this one,
that's a newer release, isn't it?
I had bought it booty as well.
Yep.
But now these recordings are coming out on the Neil Young archives. It's got like this one's purely plugged. This one's acoustic alone.
Right. Okay.
This one had like Tell Me Why, Look at My Life. I don't know. Look at My Life. I think that's a different title.
That's Old Man, isn't it? Old Man, Look at My Life.
Yeah. Old Man, Look at My Life. A Man Needs a Maid. A Heart of Gold, Journey Through the Past.
Wow.
Acoustic, Cowgirl in the Sand.
Wow.
Don't Let It Bring You Down. Love in Mind.
Okay.
Went back to Sugar Mountain. See the Sky About to Rain done acoustically instead of the way that we usually hear it.
Yeah.
I Am a Child. See the Girl Dance.
Yep.
Which is probably going to be when you dance you can really love. I think that's that one. It's got Ohio.
Okay. Yep.
And the Damage Done.
Wow. So
I don't know how to make MP3s out of this to send it to you. Oh, you know what? It says live at the Los Angeles Music Center, February 1st, 1971. Wow. So this was done.
Wow.
The anniversary was yesterday.
Wow.
Wow.
That one looks familiar.
This one?
Yeah, like I think I've seen an advertisement for the new release, the official archive release, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but that's cool. I haven't seen those before. I wish I was in the basement. I have some more Neil Young bootlegs. We should do a show just on bootlegs.
Well, those are the only two I've got. That's it.
I've got probably about 4, I guess, and no, maybe 7 on CD. And then I've got a bunch of Black Sabbath bootlegs and Rush.
Yeah.
But bootlegs are tricky because they're unique, but you have to be careful with the sound quality. I've had some that are terrible, and it's if it's that bad, I'm not necessarily going to listen to it over and over again. So
yeah,
I'll frame it or something like that. So, but it's still kind of cool to shop around. Radio broadcasts are very good. Soundboard are very good. Audience recordings, you're taking a chance. It depends, right?
Yeah, you see, I don't know exactly what these are. It doesn't tell me. guaranteed against defects in manufacturing. And then when you pull them out, IC Records, Immaculate Conception Records.
Okay, IC Records. I think I know them. Yeah, I've heard of them.
So what? And then this one here doesn't even have. It says special disco mixer, bits and pieces.
Okay.
And it says more. And it says more of the '80s medley, which it doesn't have any of the songs. So I had to put with whiteout what sides they were. You see how there's a 4?
Right.
Yeah, that was the only way I could tell what was what. I had to put 1, 2, 3, 4 with whiteout.
Yep.
I had no other way.
No, that's right.
Hope I don't get arrested after the show.
I don't think. Yeah, that's right. Neil, you're knocking on your door.
Yeah, right. Do you think I gave? He's going to be on. You think I gave Spotify? Hell, wait till I get a hold of you, Andy.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Taking your show down.
Yeah, right. Hey, well, thanks a lot for joining me today. Well, this was great.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. My pleasure. Always up for some music talk, and one of my favorite artists for sure. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you for joining me. And Al, I'm sorry that you missed today, but I hope that all is well, and we'll catch you on the flip side for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Catch me tomorrow with the Rob on the Rock and Roll podcast. We're going to be going through Judas Priest, through all 18 albums, weather permitting, of course, because we're going to get hit with some snow, and it might deal with electricity and this and that. And I'm down here in Houston, and it's going to be in the 20s for the next few days. So, I'm not used to that. I'm used to wearing T-shirts and shorts everywhere I go.
Yeah. No, see, we're in Canada, so we've got it's a blizzard right now. And it's about -5 right now, so Celsius, so it's cold. Cold enough, not super cold. We've got a lot colder lately.
Yeah, but y'all in Canada, so y'all are used to it. I'm like closer to the equator than I am to you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you all for watching this podcast, ranking Neil Young from the 1970s output. And like I was saying earlier, hopefully we'll be able to get a show in the beginning of March talking about Neil Young's 90s through the 2000s, which was another very fruitful time in his career. It really was.
Yeah.
So we'll see y'all later. Anything you need to plug, Will?
No, not much going on. I'm just trying to think. There's nothing scheduled within Will's Music Shop or the Rush page. I'll mention Alex Lifeson for those of you that don't know. Alex has got a new album coming out called Envy of None, which is interesting. He's released a new single for that. So he's got a new website now too. If you go to alexlifeson.com, Andy Kieran plays on that record, and a couple other people. And he's got a brand new singer, young girl, I forget her name, but she's very talented. So that's going to be interesting to hear that. Alex has not released anything solo-wise since about 96, I believe, when he released Victor. So it will be interesting to hear that. That's about it.
And there's a track already out there floating around.
Yes.
For them.
Liar. I think it's called Liar. Yeah. Yep. It's very different. It's
it is.
What you expect. It's different, but it's catchy.
It's interesting, and it's good. It is good. It's good to see him move forward and try new things, and that's what we want from our musicians, is to push forward.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Yeah.
So, yes, Robert Rowe just said that you must join us when we do Rush, and we'll be doing Rush soon. But that one, I think we're gonna have to break down decades, just like we're doing for Neil Young, to really get the true meaning of each album.
Yeah, I think
you really need to break it down.
Yeah, I agree. You've got 4 decades to work with of content. Many live records for sure. Yeah, and absolutely. If I'd love to be a guest on that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, of course, you sure will be. And don't forget, Friday we're going to be dropping the needle on Deep Purple's double live album 1972 from Copenhagen.
Yes, thank you.
So join us for that. I will be the host to that for Will and I spinning that record on that will be on Black Spinner Circle. I will put an announcement out there for that later on in the week. So we got a lot of things going on.
Yep.
The celebration, the talk of music is something that we just enjoy doing.
Yep.
And I'm really glad that we were able to do that for Neil Young. I was glad that we took the time to really look into it. And very well done, Will. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, my pleasure, Andy. Thank you for hosting. And a great job, as always.
And y'all take care out there and rock on. And hopefully we talked about some Neil Young you're not too familiar with, and maybe you'll get familiar with it. So y'all take care. Will, I will talk to you on Friday.
Okay, sounds good.
Right.
Take care. Thanks, everybody.
Right, hey, thanks a lot, Rob. We'll talk to you very soon as well. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.